Welcome to Cycling YouTube's dirtiest, messiest, most disorganized shed shop. It doesn't actually have a name. Today is this week's Tinker Tuesday vlog. If you are a regular viewer of this channel, you will realize that there was not a Tinker Tuesday upload last week. And that mostly just falls down to like everything was working pretty good. And if I did mess with something, it would very much be one of those moments where if it isn't broke, don't try and fix it because, well, you know, you're gonna break it. But in my hunt to find something for this week, kind of came to my realization we haven't really had the Vigorelli on the channel for a long time. And also I haven't really ridden the Vigorelli in a little while, and I had to kind of ask myself, why? And the answer is pretty simple. When I think about when I got the Vigorelli, what I was jumping from to get to the Vigorelli, that was a time that on the channel and in my life, we were like fixed gear crazed. Red Hook was kind of like at its peak where like big names were coming in. Mission Crit was going on. My friend Ian was there racing. And typically when my friends were doing stuff like that, very shortly will I follow to do the same. So that was kind of the idea with making sure that I had a proper track crit race style bike so that when Ian goes to Mission Crit again, I would probably be following in tow. And in saying that, we were like riding some really tall gears. This is like a race gear, I guess you could say. It's 48-15. But in my mind, with like training and actually getting ready to go do a race, I probably would have geared up one more tooth again or thrown a bigger chainring on. One or the other. Things would have gotten harder again, gearing wise, for racing. But for like everyday, hard, city, hilly riding, this 48-15 was like perfect at the time. Because honestly, if you can remember when I had the silver bike, this was the entire setup that was on it. It was what I was used to, and it was what my legs could push every day, stop, and do completely safely at a, you know, very reasonable amount of distance. I could do 100K, this gearing on any terrain, no problem. But lately, and it sort of pains me to admit this, I don't think that's the case anymore. As a matter of fact, I know that's not the case. The last time that I rode this bike, I remember going down the hill on the way to work, feeling maybe not scared or terrified, you know, none of those are the right words, but definitely not to the level of fitness that I used to be at. My legs were not nearly as content to slow a bike down a fairly steep grade because, let's be honest, I've been playing around with cassettes like this and chainrings like this on, you know, a pretty fair number of bikes as of late. Like for real, even the track lacrosse bike, like the track lacrosse bike has some pretty easy gearing on it as well. And then other bikes that aren't on here, you know, I've just been riding like higher turning, spinnier style gears. And so, because I very much do miss having the Vigorelli on the channel as often as I did have it on the channel in the past, and because I really do miss riding the damn thing, I am going, without hurting my feelings too much, to throw a 1 tooth larger cog on the rear and jump up from a 15 tooth to a 16 tooth. Because as gearing nerds love to continuously say, a change of 1 tooth on the rear cog is like the equivalent of a change of 3 to 4 teeth on the front chainring. I've heard this enough times to have it seared into my mind, but this for me, and you guys, because I'll bring you with me, will be the first moment that I can actually like do it one right after the other and really see if you can feel that difference, because in my mind, I'm willing to bet there's not going to be a huge difference. And to really make this thing feel completely different and bring the gear ratio down to a spot that I can like build back up from is probably going to be more like a 2 to 3 tooth difference, not so much just a 1. But who cares? This is YouTube. That's why we do these things. So there's a Dura Ace cog on there now. I have happened to have this 16 tooth Dura Ace cog with me waiting for that one to wear out, which, you know, I haven't ridden the bike nearly enough to actually warrant that. So on the other side of the Formula hub that is on there, we will have this 16 tooth Dura Ace cog and we'll be able to kind of tell the difference between the two. Now, admittedly, there is one other reason that I'm only doing a 1-tooth cog change. I have only got the 16-tooth cog, and B, this chain, the chain that's on there is actually pretty short, and I have a feeling, based on other experiences of 1-tooth cog changes, it is probably the only thing that's going to allow me to actually get a slightly larger cog on without having to use the spare single speed chain that I have sitting in the basement. So I'm kind of like, fingers crossed that we don't have to do anything chain wise. I must admit, the fixie bro in me does not want this sack. Someone somewhere is going to dislike the way I just put chain lube on there. If I'm honest, in this shop, on this channel, you're lucky to have seen any chain lube get on the chain. So kind of cool, and I think most like track nerds could probably confirm this better than I can, but this 48/16 ended up kind of with a little bit of chain wear being the perfect chain length to have the axle slammed in the dropout with a decent chain tension. But if memory serves me correct, without going and doing any research, I believe most, if not all, track bikes are designed for a 48/15 to be slammed with good track drop, like chain tension. But don't quote me on that. Just feel free, if you are the authority on track bikes and track rear triangle geometry and gearing, to correct everything that I've said incorrectly in the comments below. Okay. I always like the really simple Tinker Tuesdays because I can actually get something done, and also how much time I have the ability to actually live some life for the rest of the evening. So now we are poised to conduct the 1-tooth cog difference challenge on the road ride loop that I typically like to take part in with this bike, that bike, all of the bikes that we have in here, and just anecdotally, without any science, find out whether or not a 1-tooth rear cog difference on your single speed setup truly does make a difference that you can feel. If it's not obvious, I'm sort of setting up this week to have like a fair amount of fixed gear content until the weekend. Because on the weekend we're going to do some cool mountain bike stuff. All right, see you tomorrow.